Hello and welcome to Consensus with Canonizer. My name is Jim Bennett. I am here with the mighty Canonizer Council. We have Brent Allsop. Brent, how are you?
Good.
We have NotAnExpert. How are you, NotAnExpert?
Doing great today.
Glad to hear it. And last but definitely not least, we have Kelly Casaday. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing great. I've been spending all day the last couple of days with crew members of the USS Utah, which is a new submarine that's being built by the United States Navy. They've been in Utah looking at meeting people, political leaders, business leaders, looking at cultural events. The big reason they're here, though, is to participate in the Days of 47 radio tomorrow.
Wow.
Which is, I've been told it's one of the largest parades and one of the oldest parades in America. And
Wow.
so it's a pretty big deal. All of the local stations show it live on television. And perhaps a year from now, one of the stations could actually show a rerun during the coveted late night slot, because that's what we're talking about today.
Because this late night slot will be open, is what we're talking about today.
That's what we're talking about. The one that will be vacated on CBS by the esteemed Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. So do you want to introduce this topic here?
Oh, sure. If you go to the Canonizer homepage, you will be greeted with this lovely slider bar with some of our more recent topics. And right there at top is, why is Late Night with Stephen Colbert being canceled? There are a number of people coming up with a number of reasons. It's all Donald Trump's fault, because Stephen Colbert is a well-known critic of Donald Trump. The conspiracy goes a bit further that Paramount is buying CBS, and they can't have a Trump lawsuit hanging over them and need to seal the deal. Or is it, as CBS says, it's simply a financial decision because the Colbert Show is losing $40 to $50 million every year. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Some of the highlights of who thinks it's a deeper conspiracy include United States Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is demanding America deserves to know if his show is canceled for political reasons. And Vox.com, a website, has said there's a bigger story behind Colbert's cancellation. Did the stalwart host finally become too dangerous for late night?
Ooh.
And she goes on to say, the author, Constance Grady, Colbert's ousting feels symbolic, not just of CBS's apparent decision to bow down to Trump, but of the end of a late night political comedy as a genre. And one of my favorite is somebody on X, I can't remember their name, but I've written it down here, who wrote, we are officially at the, quote, pulling comedians off the air who criticize our dear leader phase of fascism. So,
all right,
some of that. By way of history, Colbert has been on the air for 11 years. The Late Show has been on for 33 years. Colbert was preceded by David Letterman in that franchise. And I've listed on here a few other long-running TV shows that were canceled for what CBS claims the same reason, lack of audience, or for other reasons. The People's Court was on for 26 seasons. Guiding Light, a famous
soap
opera, was on the air for 57 years.
Wow.
After 15 years, as the same format, except on radio. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, here's where it gets different, ended after 33 years because of Fred Rogers' death.
He ended it before he died.
Yeah, but he was in ill health. Captain Kangaroo was ended by CBS, the same, perhaps evil CBS. In this case, I think they were evil because Captain Kangaroo wanted to continue, but they kept pushing him into different time slots, and his ratings continued to slide. I think because of a bad decision by CBS. Seinfeld ended after 9 seasons because Jerry Seinfeld wanted the show to end on a high note, and he thought it was going to start getting stale. So anyway, that's a highlight of what's going on. What does everybody think?
Well, Brent, I know you are a big Colbert fan, so I'd like to get your take on this right out of the gate.
Yeah, it looks like to me it's a fact that does anyone disagree with the assertions that the Late Show this year is losing on the order of $40 million per year? That looks to me like that's an undisputed fact. Is anyone disputing
Where does that figure come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I just Googled for it. It says CBS estimates suggesting a loss of amount around $40 million per year this finance. So yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but if
I tried to trace that, and everybody's reporting on a report that was both in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times that said that unnamed sources have said that. So there's yet to be anybody on the record, including CBS, that have said that's losing that much money. But it seems to be accepted by as a fact. I looked at what's the fact checking website?
Snopes. I'm on there right now.
Yeah, and they kind of go through that, but they also haven't been able to come any closer to finding who exactly that is. But I think it says in there that it seems to be correct because the ratings for late night as a whole bunch of TV has been dropping steadily.
Well, so as much as I want to blame Donald Trump and I want to blame politics, I think this may be a short episode because I think we're all kind of in agreement to some degree. I don't think it's just a case of Colbert. I think it's a case of broadcast television as a medium essentially collapsing. There is plenty of room for trenchant political commentary, even from the left, in other sorts of venues that I think have a broader audience. I'm looking at John Oliver's Last Week Tonight on HBO Max. Kelly, you sort of resemble John Oliver.
I've actually been told that. I've also been told by people, depending on the glasses I'm wearing, that I look like Stephen Colbert. But thank you. My wife at one point said I looked like Gilligan, but I will take Stephen Colbert or John Oliver any day.
But last week tonight it's a weekly show. It's not a nightly show, but it's on a streaming service. It's watched essentially whenever you want to watch it. And the days, I mean, you talk about David Letterman. I was a massive David Letterman fan as a kid. I used to tape, this is aging me, you used to take videotapes and set a timer so that I could tape the Late Night with David Letterman, which was his NBC show that went off the air. He thought he was going to get the Tonight Show, which was the big plum of late night television. And there was a huge scandal. He didn't. And then he created his own show, The Late Show, which was actually beating the Tonight Show for a very long time until David Letterman hosted the Oscars and bombed. And then sort of Jay Leno overtook him and stayed ahead of him after that. But the dynamic of late night television was so very different than it is now, because the number of people that do what I did, which is, okay, I've got to watch the whole show and I've got to tape it in advance The number of people who do that, I think, is minuscule if they exist at all, because that's just not the way we consume this kind of content anymore. I have not sat down and watched a network television show for, I can't remember how long it's been. It's been years. The last time I sort of had appointment television where I think it goes back 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been forever that sort of model is how it worked. And when I was growing up, I remember as a little kid, I used to make sure that we didn't do anything on, I think it was Tuesday nights, because that was the night Happy Days and Fonzie was on.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a VCR, so if you missed it, you missed it. And so you had to watch it, or you had to wait until the summer when there was a rerun. But I mean, that whole business model has gone out the window, and most of Colbert's stuff is consumed the day after on YouTube.
Yeah, and it has.
That's what I was going to say.
It regularly gets more than 5 million views each monologue. Yeah.
If there's anything I wanted to see Colbert do, I will wait and look at it up on YouTube.
The next day. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. But I think we have two camps here, and I think it's time to add a third. One is business decisions are difficult, but if you don't make money, you're let go. That's one. You go up here to the consensus tree and quick little statement. The other one that we have listed is Stephen Colbert is being fired for political reasons to appease Trump. Again, go up to the consensus tree, click it. You can read that a little bit longer. But I think maybe it's time to add a third camp. Jim Bennett is responsible for killing off Stephen Colbert.
Because they don't watch broadcast television?
Yep.
I would probably create a sub camp to the first camp, because I think it is naive to say that politics are playing no part in this. What I think is that the politically incendiary nature of Stephen Colbert, as Paramount is considering a merger, has made it easier for them to pull the trigger on the financial decision.
Oh.
I mean, I think it is a financial decision, but I think there was this kind of, well, this is an institution, because what this is essentially an acknowledgement that broadcast late night television is done.
Yeah.
Because Stephen Colbert has the highest ratings of any of the, so you've got Colbert, you've got Jimmy Kimmel, and you've got Jimmy Fallon, who's the Tonight Show, and he's at the bottom. So the Tonight Show doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, back in the days of Johnny Carson, back when the Tonight Show started, the Tonight Show was it. Yep. There wasn't anything else. And now
that made so many careers.
Oh yeah,
like Steve Martin, who is one of my favorite comedians, was not much of anything until he went on Tonight Show. And you can just go through a list of all these now historic, legendary comedians.
But it just doesn't work that way anymore. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And so what this is, I think CBS, they call it the Tiffany Network, which is it's sort of the prestige. CBS was the home of Walter Cronkite. I mean, you're seeing in late night what happened with the evening news. There was a time when getting a new anchor on the evening news was a huge, huge deal. I remember I was in second or third grade when Walter Cronkite retired, and Dan Rather took over the CBS Evening News, and what just a massive cultural event that was. Now, I literally could not tell you, first of all, who's the lead anchor on the evening news. Second of all, if there even is an evening news. I mean, that whole model has really kind of gone away. I think there's something, and I think people in their 80s or 90s may still watch it, but I mean, that is not the way we consume news anymore at all. The evening news just does not matter. Does it still exist? And does anybody know who the anchors are?
Yeah, Tom Yamas just replaced what's his name on KSL. What's his name?
Well, on KSL, that's a local. You're talking about local news.
No, the NBC.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
is it NBC, right?
Yeah, I don't even know who Tom Yamas is.
Yeah.
Tom Yamas is the new guy that just replaced that black guy. What's his name? Dang, I can't remember his name. If I said his name, you'd remember it.
So, not an expert. You, I hope I'm not revealing too much by saying you are considerably younger than most of us.
My demographic is definitely one that we only watch this kind of media on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I like, there's 2.4-ish million viewers of the show live, roughly 5 million views on the clips. The clip's lifespan over YouTube. It's not much of a stretch to believe that putting the clips on YouTube is a better monetization strategy for their production. The other thing is just with advertisements and demographics. Who's watching the show and when are they watching the show? As a general macroeconomic trend over the past year, advertisement spending has been down by a lot. And if you look at this dying late night television, and if you don't skip through the ads because you can, then you'll notice almost all of the ad slots are just pharmaceuticals and retirement stuff. It's being directed towards people of your roughly your age and your demographic.
No, I'd say older.
Right. But the real problem is that the younger demographic
who are too old to figure out how to press the remote and skip past.
Here's the issue though, is that younger demographic is watching it on YouTube. We have less money to spend. We're not as valuable per advertisement view. So even though you can get 5 million of us to watch it on YouTube, that's not necessarily equal to the 2 million live viewers.
I'm going to add another camp that not an expert is too young to be commenting on
Lester Holt
an older nature.
No, my real issue here is about the narrative. Like, if this really was just a business decision and that he was losing money, then we could be done with it. But at this point, we can't confirm that they're actually losing $40 million, and we really should be able to. CBS being owned by Paramount Global is a publicly traded company. I happen to have investments in this company. And I looked through the investment disclosure. I can't see anything about this. I don't know if this show is actually losing money. If it was and they decided to publish this, then this debate would be over, and it would probably reflect well on their network and the rest of their shows if they did that.
Yeah.
So you think the fact that they're not doing that is an indication that it is political?
Yeah, it's so easy to.
Do they list any other shows revenue other than? Well, I don't know what they'll do.
They group it together. No, they group everything together by category. And this is part of an even broader issue of media companies losing just massive amounts of money and making horrible business decisions with these streaming services and having to pay catalog fees and retention and royalties and firing writers. It's just, media is losing money right now, and they're not handling it well.
Well, legacy media is losing money.
Yes, legacy media.
I have had conversations with people talking about podcasts, and the amazing thing about these big popular podcasts, and hopefully we can get there, but one of the most amazing things about it is that the production costs are so very low. And the monetization is huge when you have a huge audience. Joe Rogan is making He's making tens of millions of dollars a year, and it's all coming from revenue from advertising. And because the business model works, all Joe Rogan has to do is sit down in his studio and talk about whatever he wants to talk about, and people are interested. People are willing to buy advertising during that time. I mean, the model, the media, I think, is still still be very profitable, but the model has shifted to the point where even the idea of broadcast television, the only thing I can think of where broadcast television still makes sense is live events, particularly sporting events. People all want to watch something while it's happening. And
rocket launches.
Well, I mean, rocket launches. I don't know what kind of ratings those kinds of things get, but royal weddings or just some big event. If there's some big cultural event that's happening in real time, broadcast television, I think, is still an effective way to get that out there. Except most of those you can find some place to stream them.
YouTube, yep.
While they're happening. So that's not the case with live sporting events because they really control the licensing of those very tightly. And so that may be the last vestige of broadcast television that survives because it doesn't make sense for anything else.
Yeah, I'm looking at some data about broadcast television, and it's not going to surprise anybody, but broadcast television share of people's viewing habits is 18.5%, while cable TV networks, as not cable TV, but cable TV networks, is 23.4%. But streaming services like YouTube, Netflix, and other things like that is now 46% of what people watch. So, yeah.
Well, so it's interesting. So you talk about the cable networks; those are probably like Fox News.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig down, but I would assume that things like news stations, sports stations as cable networks are carrying the majority of that.
So there does still seem to be an audience for people that want to see real-time commentary about what's happening right now. And so I think like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, they've each sort of carved out an audience, but a lot of those are not doing that well.
Yeah.
Fox News, I think, is still doing well, but I think the left-leaning stations are not. Because they're sort of lumped in with that whole legacy thing. But they're, I don't know, that may still continue as something. But even then, it's like people would say, "Oh, back when I was a Republican, they'd say, "Oh, you're watching too much Fox News." And now that I'm not a Republican, it's like, "Oh, you bought into MSNBC." And I was like, I cannot remember again I can remember the last time I watched them. I would watch those on election nights, on national election nights. So the last time I watched any of those live when they were happening was on election night.
And did you go to any network television to look at that?
No,
because I did not. This last election, it was just going between the cable television, the cable news networks.
Watching. That's and they're sort of geared for that. I mean, they spend all of their time talking about these kinds of things, and they're set up for that. And I think network news, has been cut and cut and cut and cut because it represents such a small part of their revenue that I don't know that they have the resources that the cable news stations do to cover those kinds of events. I mean, it used to be that network news broadcasts were considered a public service. None of the network news broadcasts made money, but all of them were there because when you only had 3 networks, their broadcast license was somewhat contingent on the idea of them providing some kind of valuable public service for having the rights to those airwaves. And now airwaves just don't matter anymore.
And it made sense financially because if they had the top news, that meant they were leading into their top money-making show because they wanted to give them a bigger boost. So that was a good time slot.
Yeah, time slots and lead-ins. I mean, that was a huge thing. Must-see TV on Thursday nights. On NBC, you would watch The Cosby Show, and then Family Ties, and then Cheers, and then Night Court. And
this is going to date me for not an expert, but our big family thing was Sunday. We would watch Mutual of Omaha, Animal Kingdom, and then Wide World or Disney.
Wonderful World of Disney.
Yep. And so that was where the family got together and stared at a screen. United family.
And I mean, I have memories on Sunday night of watching America's Funniest Home Videos and that one not home makeover, where that show where they build an entire house in a week.
Yeah, Extreme Makeover.
Extreme Home Makeover, yeah.
Something like
with
that.
Ty Pennington.
Yeah, I remember that. So it's. I just think I do think that politics made this easier, but I think it may have accelerated a decision that was already already inevitable.
Yeah. Can we take one moment and share favorite memories of Stephen Colbert?
Sure.
Mine go back to when he was on the Daily Show, and they're kind of Utah centric, but I think it was a Daily Show, but he interviewed Mitt Romney, and it was hilarious, making fun of his religion, of Mitt Romney's religion, but it was in good nature because, like he said, something like, Mormons believe that Joseph Smith gave the word of God, or that God gave Joseph Smith golden plates, when we know that God gave it to Moses on stone tablets. Like, it was just good-natured funny. It wasn't like mean-spirited. And then he had another one when he was on the Daily Show where he interviewed a guy named Cody Judy, another Utah-specific one, who had taken a bomb into BYU and had threatened to kill a Mormon church leader. And he was just hilarious, talking about trying to get the coveted imprisoned vote. And it was like there was just funny.
Yeah,
and
that's
so he is. And I read an article in the New York Times in the last 2 days, and it talked about Stephen Colbert leaving late night TV isn't going to be bad for Stephen Colbert, but it is bad for late night TV. He's a funny dude, and he's going to
be fine.
And he'll probably go find some podcast or YouTube channel or some other streaming service, or maybe they'll even pick up the whole late night show on some other channel, and he'll be fine.
Well, so his first job on television was as a regular on the Dana Carvey show. Do you remember the Dana Carvey show?
Yep.
Dana Carvey show. There is a wonderful documentary about it. I think it's on Hulu. It lasted something like 8 shows. It was this big hype thing, and their first sketch was Dana Carvey as Bill Clinton breastfeeding a bunch of people, and they said they watched the ratings plummet in real time, and they never ever recovered from that first controversial sketch. But Stephen Colbert was a regular on that show and was unbelievably brilliant. There is one sketch I can remember. He and the other guy who got his start on that show was Steve Carell from The Office.
Oh, yeah.
And they did this bit where they were waiters who were nauseated by food. You can find it on YouTube, and he's just there. He's just reading the specials, and it's just making him sicker and sicker and sicker. I don't know that he was in this sketch. I think it was Steve Carell. But there's a sketch where they say, and now Germans saying nice things. And it was, I think he might have been one of them, but they would say, "It is a pleasure to have babysat Kevin." They would just say these really innocuous things, but with this loud Nazi type accent. It was just very clever. And he had a career. He did a lot of voiceover work. You ever seen the Ambiguously Gay Duo?
Yeah.
on Saturday Night Live. He's the voice of one of the villains on that. He's also, if you watch the TV show, The Adventures of Harvey Birdman, attorney at law,
Yeah.
he's the boss with the eye patch. Can't remember what his name is. But he's hysterical. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. He's going to be fine. But yeah, I think that late night television as we know it is already dead. And this is just kind of a formality at this point.
As we wrap it up, I'm going to show a blank TV screen in honor of Stephen Colbert.
Any Colbert memories that the rest of the council wants to share?
I like Colbert Report, where he makes fun of O'Reilly, Hannity, and Glenn Beck and those types.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that character for a decade,
Yeah.
every stinking night. I mean, that is amazing. And I love the book that came out of that. Do you ever remember the book? It was called I Am America, and So Can You.
Yep.
Just very funny. All right. Well, sounds like we had consensus there at the beginning, and we have a consensus here at the end. Any
good.
parting thoughts before we wind this up?
Yes. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
You know what?
Wherever you are.
You know what? This has nothing to do with the topic, but I just wanted to mention it. I'm in the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, formerly what was known as the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which you would think is a very conservative, religious musical organization. It is conducted by a man named Mac Wilberg, and the associate conductor who conducts half of it is a guy named Ryan Murphy. And last night we had a rehearsal, and at the end of the rehearsal, Ryan Murphy said, "Everybody go home and listen to some Ozzy Osbourne." And I thought, I never thought I would be with the Tabernacle Choir and be told to go listen to some Ozzy Osbourne.
That's great.
But just shows you that there are unlikely fans in all kinds of places. So anyway, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Rest in peace, late night television. And for all the rest of you, we don't want you to rest in peace. We want you to come back next week when we return with another episode of Consensus with Canonizer.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Should be going, but it doesn't seem to be going.